theme of my talk is Better Together, where we are at SIOP 19. There you go. Not a robot. So as you know, our motto is Science for a Smarter Workplace. And we have 4 strategic goals. First is to become the premier and trusted authority on work-related human behavior. The second, to increase the awareness and use of IO psychology. The third, to meet the needs of those engaged in the science and practice of IO psych throughout their careers. And finally, to model and reinforce effective integration of science and practice. And it's this 4th goal, which I'd really like to focus on at the start of my talk today. I've organized my talk using 4 ING words, action words: recognizing, collaborating, engaging, and thanking. And if you know me, I like to start with recognizing. So last night, I really had the honor at the Foundation dessert reception of recognizing amazing SIOP members who embody the scientist-practitioner model. Information about each recipient is included in your SIOP Salutes brochure, and I encourage you to read that about each amazing individual. Here's a class photo of several of them from last night's dessert reception. When thinking about how important it is to recognize scientist practitioners at all career stages, we wanted to not compare someone who's been working for 7 years with someone who's been working for 37. To this end, we came up with 3 different categories based on how long somebody had been since their the final terminal degree. So we had the SIOP, the Rising Gold Stars, for those earning the highest degree in the last 10 years, the Gold Star recognition for those 11 to 24 years since their degree, and the Sterling Circle Gold Star recognition for those with 25 years since their degree. To share the depth and the breadth of the recipients, I'd like to share a bit about them as a group. There are 39 recognized individuals from 15 states, 7 countries, and 4 continents. We have 8 Rising Gold Star recipients, 11 Gold Star recipients, 20 Sterling Circle Gold Star recipients, 22 listed a university affiliation as their primary, 17 listed practice or corporate affiliation. As you might imagine with this group, a lot of dual affiliations, sometimes 3 or more. But also, there's 1 Talya Bauer advisor in the group, 3 co-authors, and 8 past SIOP presidents. So, in addition, what I found so inspirational, though, about learning about the breadth and depth was, while I know about my advisor and the co-authors, learning about people's work that I wouldn't have otherwise if I hadn't had this opportunity. The science practice work represented by this eclectic group is awe-inspiring, and I'm happy to recognize them. They all have 3 key things in common. They're all SIOP members. They all embody the scientist-practitioner model in their work and careers. But really importantly, they were all nominated. So I wanted to make sure that all amazing members throughout SIOP were recognized. And rather than pick people who I think do great work in my silo, I wanted to open it up to anybody to be able to nominate people. So like all of SIOP awards you've seen presented today, the process starts with a nomination. Thank you to everyone who submitted a nomination. It matters. I ask that all the scientist practitioner recognition recipients please stand and be recognized by all of us. Thank you. In addition, I wanted to recognize organizations who engage in important and impactful science practice translation work. I am pleased to recognize the Society for Human Resource Management for its dedication to translating science into practice for its 300,000 plus members and beyond. SHRM is a great SIOP partner. Here are some examples of the way SHRM translates science into practice. The SHRM SIOP Postdoctoral Fellowship, it is designed to take environmental set of research and transition it into tools for practitioner learning over 1 year. The SHRM Evidence-Based Practice Incubator Series is a program for external researchers to further their research and generate practitioner tools. And the SHRM SIOP White Paper Series allows SIOP members to contribute the evidence base around HR practices and share practical lessons with HR. Finally, the SHRM Workplace Innovation Lab is a consortium for linking researchers, practitioners, and technology startups in the design and refinement of products for greater teamwork, collaboration, and optimization. It is my pleasure to invite Alex Alonso to the stage to receive this presidential recognition for outstanding science practice translation on behalf of SHRM. The second presidential recognition for science practice translation work goes to Science for Work. Science for Work was established in Europe in 2014 when a small group of organizational psychology students discovered upon graduation that there's a big gap between what science knows and business does. They, quote, felt compelled to make a contribution, so we set up a team that started translating scientific evidence to make it accessible and interesting. They formed a not-for-profit organization, volunteer organization with rigorous standards and practices for research translation and communication, and they do this work on 9 nights and weekends. Today, they continue their mission to communicate the most trustworthy and relevant scientific insights to help practitioners make better decisions, and they have thousands of followers from organic searches, social media, and direct links. They are a small but mighty team. I will be presenting the entire Science for Work team with the award at the EWOP conference in May in Torino, Italy. I also want to recognize how far we've come. In 1989, when Ann Howard was president, we had 2,888 members. 5 years later, when Paul Sackett was SIOP president, we had grown 47% to over 4,000 members. Fast forward to 2014, when Tammy Allen presided as president, and we'd grown to over 8,000 members. We've never had more momentum or more impact or more attention. So as you know, we're recognized as one of the fastest growing occupations. We were noted by AARP recently as one of the best careers to go back to school for if you're over 40. So from recognizing our members, great organizations, and how far we've come, I'd like to turn to collaborating. SIOP's United Nations team provides a great example of how we reach beyond ourselves at SIOP. This year, the SIOP UN team expanded to include an international arm, comprised of SIOP members from 4 different continents across the globe. Last fall, the UN team held a productive strategy planning session at the UN Secretariat. UN staff members attended and provided key input into how to maximize SIOP's contributions to UN mandates, including the Sustainable Development Goals. From there, our SIOP UN team forged ahead in exciting ways. Throughout the past year, SIOP members have worked in the United Nations bodies in New York, Paris, Geneva, Beirut, Amman, Jordan, and Bangkok, providing evidence-based insights into a range of topics. Thank you to the SIOP UN team led by Julie Olson Buchanan, and thank you to SIOP members David Bracken, Lori Foster, Gary Latham, Paul Levy, Denise Owens, John Scott, and James Smitherd, who presented at the UN. Another example of collaboration occurred on Tuesday of this week when representatives of SIOP attended advocacy training at Lewisburg Associates in downtown DC. We then visited the US Senate to advocate for funding for IO research, for Veterans Affairs, and for technology in the workplace. It was a busy but impactful day for SIOP. And Steve, how did it go? It was awesome. And I'm pleased to announce a new collaboration with SIOP being accepted as an affiliate of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. We joined 258 other societies serving over 10 million members in the world's largest federation of scientific societies. 10,000 is good, 10 million is more. Another collaboration that SIOP celebrates is the American Psychological Association. I invited Dr. Arthur Evans, APA's CEO, to share a few words with us regarding APA's new strategic plan and emphasis on applied psychology.
Good morning, and welcome to SIOP 2019. I'm Arthur Evans, CEO of the American Psychological Association. While I'm not able to be there at the conference with you today, I'm looking forward to joining you tomorrow at National Harbor. SIOP has been and continues to be an extremely important part of APA. First, I want to thank you and acknowledge all of the work that you do to advance the area of industrial and organizational psychology. Your diverse talent and expertise are making a real difference in addressing workplace issues and promoting well-being at both the individual and the organizational level. Second, thank you for keeping IO psychology connected to the broader work of APA. It's critical that policymakers and the public recognize the breadth of what our field does by applying psychological science to the issues that people face. We can raise the visibility of psychology and maximize the impact of our work. You may have heard by now that APA is strengthening its commitment to applied psychology. For instance, we've established an Office of Applied Psychology, which is headed by IO psychologist Dr. David Ballard. Also, we've already begun tapping into the expertise of SIOP members to assist with the implementation of APA's new strategic plan and organizational change process. I want to give a special thanks to SIOP member and APA Council representative, Dr. Jeff McHenry, who has played a major role in advancing this agenda. APA will continue to reach out to SIOP members in this way, and I hope you will continue to share your expertise with us as we move APA forward. You may also be aware of the APA's new expanded advocacy model, which allows us to advocate even more effectively on issues important to the entire field of psychology. The input we've received from SIOP members and other applied psychologists has played a huge role in shaping our broadened approach to advocacy. We're excited to take part in efforts like advocacy within the business world that will help strengthen the work of applied psychology and the field of psychology as a whole. I hope you enjoy a great conference and that I get a chance to see and speak with many of you when I arrive. I look forward to continuing to build the partnership between APA and SIOP in a way that advances the strong work of both of our organizations.
In addition, current APA President Rosie Phillips Davis will be attending SIOP for the first time, as well as SIOP member and APA President-elect Sandy Schulman. When you meet them, please welcome the large contingent from APA attending SIOP this year. And as Dr. Evans mentioned, we are thrilled to see longtime SIOP member David Ballard at the helm for the newly created Center for Organizational Excellence within APA. He is already doing amazing things. Next, I'd like to turn my attention to engagement and what we can do to engage at SIOP. You might be wondering at this part in the program what you can do to engage from your part of the world. I bet you won't be surprised at what I say next. Any guesses? Volunteer, right? So we're a volunteer-driven organization. You get an opportunity to formally volunteer once a year when SIOP sends out its form and there's an application. But there's so many things you can do and so many things that people do throughout the year, including reviewing, which hundreds of SIOP members do, if not thousands each year. You can get involved in one of our many membership groups. There are always activities going on, ways to support them, ways to be helpful, and social receptions at SIOP to attend. You can read an article, you can write a focal article, or a commentary in IOP's journal, which began as an idea by President Fritz Strasgau and grew into the journal we know today, with several illustrious editors. You can help get the word out about IO psychology. Bridge Builders, under President Tammy Allen, has grown and can use more volunteers to sing SIOP praises widely. I tried to do my part with the IO Roadshow in the past few years, visiting many locations in the United States and Canada. And as immediate past president in the next coming 6 months, I have more trips planned to the US, France, and Italy. Another way that members engage is through SIOP's Visibility Committee's initiative, Top Minds, Bottom Lines. Last Tuesday at the National Press Club in DC, they presented Keeping the People and People Analytics, how leading organizations use data to hire, engage, and retain talent. Thanks to Victoria Mattingly for organizing the session and leading the charge, and Veronica, Lauren, and Guru from Google, Twitter, and Capital One for sharing their experience with the 60 non-IO managers and executives in attendance. There were vice presidents of major organizations, and I heard a few people came all the way from New York specifically for that session. Kudos. And members make research accessible in other important ways. For example, Michelle Gaffon followed up her article in Science and other research with her book, Rule Makers, Rule Breakers, How Tight and Loose Cultures Wire Our World, which translates her research for the general public. Stephen Rogelberg serves as on the executive team for the Alliance for Organizational Psychology and also translated his research into a book targeted for anyone looking to have more effective meetings. I enjoyed seeing him on CBS this morning, representing IO psychology so well. SIOP members Lori Foster and Alex Alonso have also brought their expertise to the White House across 2 administrations. And SIOP member and current EOWAP president, Frederick Anseal, reached out to the Queen of the UK, who can now say that she's met an IO psychologist. Because not all of us can write national best-selling books, go to the White House, or meet the Queen, and because we are all better together when we engage and share what matters to us, I'd like you all to log into CNET to share what makes you SIOP proud. As Scott mentioned, after you download the app, simply click Join Project and then input project code SIOP19. I hear there are also some exciting prizes for participating. And now finally, we are at the thanking part of my talk. There are many individuals who deserve thanks. To start off with, no opening plenary talk should end without thanking the amazingly talented and dedicated SIOP administrative office staff who work tirelessly year-round to make SIOP great. Thank you for everything you do. Special thanks to the SIOP Foundation Board of Trustees who are innovative, diligent, and dedicated to helping SIOP build toward an even brighter future. And again, echoing what Scott had to say, please join me in thanking our Platinum, Diamond, and Sustaining partners. They are foundational to SIOP delivering a world-class conference, and they are very much appreciated. I want to thank the SIOP Task Force. We met virtually every month, and finding a time that worked for the West Coast, Midwest, East Coast, to Italy, the UK, and Japan was a challenge, but we made it work. Special thanks to the GET Task Force for its momentum towards getting IO into intro psychology textbooks. They made great strides this year and are continuing the great work this coming year. I formed the Military Veterans Initiative MVI Task Force last Veterans Day. This work began long ago in 2011, and it was a pleasure to see the organization and dedication of these talented SIOP members. Saturday, I meet with the president of APA's Division 19 regarding future collaboration on this initiative. I want to thank Tracy Rizzuto for putting on this amazing show, the content of what we're going to be looking at today and Friday and Saturday. The entire team, thousands of volunteers, extraordinary talented group. Thanks to Tracy for leading the charge on this. I want to extend my thanks to Elizabeth McCune on our 2019 Conference Theme Chapter Committee. The entire committee worked diligently in Potomac D in the ballroom today, all day long. They'll be talking about advancing science practice translations, and all of the sessions are unique and different, but it was designed to mix and match. You could go and stay for the entire day and hopefully hear new and exciting things, or you can hop in and out. Starting at 10:30 with communicating results in a complex world, and finishing up at the end of the day with disruptions big and small, the future of science practice in IO. I want to thank Scott as conference chair for securing such a compelling closing plenary speaker. I'm very much looking forward to hearing Megan Smith talk about how her organization leverages technology towards important social issues of our time. Raise your hand if you're going to be here on Saturday for the closing plenary. All right. Thank you, Scott. We can clap for that. And going all the way back to 1945, groans, right? I would like to thank all of our SIOP presidents. These past presidents have built a strong foundation for SIOP's continuing success. So much of what I've talked about today began with an idea, initiative, or project started under a past president. Like so many past SIOP presidents, reading the work of Marv Dennett, Shelley Zedek, Dan Ilgen, Mary Tinniper, Ben Schneider, Paul Thayer, Jim Farr, Frank Landy, Wally Borman, Elaine Polakis, and Irv Goldstein were foundational to my development as an IO scholar and practitioner. Paul Sackett shared his musical version of I Am the Very Model of a Scientist Practitioner many years ago at the opening plenary. Personal note, it's the only plenary I've ever missed, and I've never missed one since because you never know what you might miss. Like many SIOP presidents, Wayne Cassio and Mike Burke live into that model. Bill Macy worked to bring SIOP its first Technology Sunday, and Lietta Hugh started our Leading Edge Consortium. Eduardo Salas created and presented presidential recognition coins, which inspired my recognitions today. And Adrienne Colella spoke about impact in her plenary address and how our members make a difference in the world. Doug Reynolds led our strategic planning process. Gary Latham, Jeff McHenry, and Nancy Tippins have always given me great advice about collaboration. And Jose Cortina, Milt Hockel, Tammy Allen, Anne-Marie Ryan, Kurt Krager, and Lois Tetrix have always been amazing role models in having fun while getting things done. How about that? As Steve Kozlowski wrote in his last presidential tip column, SIOP is small but mighty, and I could not agree more. On a personal note, special thanks goes to Jim Oots for encouraging me to run for president, to Rich Klimoski for formally welcoming me into APA's leadership, and to Mort McPhail, Fred Oswald, and Eden King for being an amazing team to work with. And this talk would not be complete without me thanking Mike Campion, who asked me to assist him with his work as SIOP program chair as my very first literal task as a graduate student at Purdue. I was honored when Angelo Denisi asked me to serve SIOP as program chair 10 years later. And finally, thank you to Neil Schmidt, who accepted my very first paper at the Journal of Applied Psychology, and Kevin Murphy, who first invited me to join the journal's editorial board. IO, psychology, and SIOP continue to be as amazing to me now as when I first read my first JAP article and fell in love with IO. We've gotten better with time, and here's to many more to come. Please join me in thanking all of the past presidents. If you're a past SIOP president, could you rise to be recognized? And finally, thank you to the amazing executive board members, committee chairs, and members and SIOP volunteers. I've been doing this for a long time, and part of it was seeing the camaraderie and just the excellence of passion for what we do in that very first room. I wish I could remember everybody who was there with Mike on that first planning committee, but I remember Rick Guzzo was there, I remember Judy Olian was there, and everybody had fun while they were getting things done. We are truly better together.